Are people having problems getting this started? Because I feel like I should see more stuff right now.
Mike, I'm sorry, I'm actually just gonna turn mine in right now for you to look at. I'm just adding some
Supposed to be in
stuff.
by 10.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I've said that 100 times, and there's a reason for that. I don't like the class getting broken up with me. That's why I try and have all my files ready and everything before we go. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
And then like sometimes it also creates problems on the back end, because if I've got a lot of, like we had one day where I had a bunch of technical problems. I had to go into that video and cut huge sections out of that video, so you guys don't get a video of 15 minutes of me going, here, let me try starting.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Is there problems with people getting that started?
You mean both the assignments, the planet and the canyon thing? No, I'm doing fine. I'm just working on it.
Because I just want to see things in process right now, so I know that you guys are, so I'm catching problems before, because I definitely want to have this. I want to have this completely handed in by probably no later than Tuesday, and both of them, because I got to get onto these bigger things after that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes.
And they're what's this, John? What are you talking about the link?
That's a doc link that if you click it, this dude updates for all visual effects, game, movies, like all over the globe. And he does it for free. He always updates.
Is it jobs?
Yeah, it's jobs, it's interns, it's remote, it's on site. Susie Little gave it to me. It's super sweet.
That's great.
Yeah, it's super sweet. If it
he
doesn't,
he just does it as a doc that he's always updating.
Yeah, he's always
super. That is a really good idea.
Yeah, he says he's a professional job hunter, and this is his data. So
yeah,
he takes donations if you're interested in supporting him as well. There's a link on the doc.
I would throw $10 at that in a second.
Right? It's super. I check it every day. There's new.
I mean, what a great. Number one, he's kind of like, if I'm looking for a job, and I got all these job leads, last thing I'm doing is sharing them with anybody. You know what I mean?
Right, and he collects them all. Games, movies, anything. I mean, they're not every single post, but they're definitely all the major hitters.
Well, yeah, and he's, and the thing is with that, make sure that you're, if you're looking for a job, what I did, because I was pragmatic, I just went, I'm going to start with the small production houses and things like that, right when I got out of school, and I go, I'll hit them and then I'll work my way up. You know what I mean? And there is a lot of those. Okay. I mean, like if you drive through certain parts of, like, because I used to work in Santa Monica, like certain parts of Santa Monica, and this probably shifted now because that was a long time ago, but you drive down the street and you'd see, like, for whatever reason, there's just a cluster of like production houses and stuff like that. And you go, I didn't know this is here. So now you can just drive down the street and photograph each sign or whatever, go home, jump on their websites, find out who's hiring. Because a lot of those people are not really on everybody's radar, because everybody else is going, I want to work at Leica, I want to work at Disney, I want to work at Marvel, I want to work, they're looking at all these big things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, only the biggest and baddest.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with applying to those if your skill set's there. But I also argue, if I get some crappy portfolio, and this has happened, where I get somebody's super crappy portfolio, somehow it get through to me somewhere, and I go, God, this stuff's terrible. That name would probably stick in my head. So if I got that guy again or that woman again, I'd probably go, I'm not looking at their portfolio. This stuff sucks. So you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot that way. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So anyway,
totally, yeah. And you want to get your feet wet, you could do it at a smaller company and then step up to the big boys.
Yeah. And, and look, I'm not saying don't, if you feel like you're there and everything, I mean, of course, apply for Disney.
Yeah, go for whatever.
Go for all of it. But like what I see is like, and I've seen this happen where people go, like, I knew this guy when I was teaching way back, before I stopped teaching, and he got an internship at Imagineering, which I was actually kind of shocked by, because I thought he was a hard worker, but I didn't think he was that good. And then when I talked to him, I go, how's that going? It's good. They have me doing this, that, and the other. And it wasn't really 100% art related or anything. I go, it doesn't matter. You're in the door networking. That's what matters, because that's a hard door to get into. And then they offered, they go, I go, hey, what's going, I saw him later. And I go, what's going on with your internship? He goes, oh, they offered me another 3 months or whatever. And I go, that's cool. And he goes, oh, I turned it down. I go, why would you turn it down? He's like,
What?
because I want to be a concept, I don't know, whatever it was, character designer or whatever it was. And I go, you are an idiot. I go, you just blew your shot. You know what I mean? I go, because they liked you. That's why they asked you to stay.
Exactly.
And
They're-
they're finding what your niche is. That's what they're doing. You know, you're going to bounce around, and then at some point they're going to give you some art related stuff to do or whatever. And then you're going to find your niche before you even get out there. And then they might go, this guy's really good at this niche, and they offer you a job right out of the internship program. Because why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
You've already trained this person. You already know you like them. They've already had a 6-month-long internship where you really know them really well and you know their work ethic and everything. Why would you not hire them? You just train them exactly the way you want them.
I am internally groaning at that.
Yeah, I'd like to know whatever
I was
happened.
like, that's crazy. I was like, I would love to work for Imagineering. It's so cool
Yeah,
there.
and then I remember the second when they, like towards the end of his first internship or whatever, he was on site, like kind of, I forgot what he was doing. It wasn't art stuff, but he was like doing something on site of something they were building. Probably might have been California Adventure. I don't remember.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's super fun. Like, why would I not want to do that? I mean, you rather work at McDonald's? Like, what's wrong with you? Or work a real job, you know?
Mhm.
And that's basically like turning your nose up at them. That's
Yeah, it is.
insulting. It's insulting.
And it's also like there's so many things he could have learned on that. Because like when I worked on California Adventure, once it goes to vertical construction, for the most part, my job was done. But then they do have like the art director, whoever is going to do it, they do have people on site when there's problems to be solved on site. You know, like might be a faux paint problem. It might be, you know, yeah, and you got to come up with solutions. You might be sitting there sketching something, trying to come up with solutions with the people doing it, you know, the vendors and all that kind of stuff. And then you start learning about managing vendors, and then you start learning about the business side and the execution of your artwork, of your conceptual work and your design work. I mean, you're getting this huge knowledge, a learning knowledge on the back end of the creative process, which is to me super valuable. I think it might be more valuable than anything else. I mean, I take it for granted you already know how to design and everything, but you don't know the back end of how all this is executed from a real world perspective. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So now you're seeing like, oh, that's how this stuff actually gets made. Like they've got multiple vendors. You know, this is how you have to communicate ideas to them. Man, that's super valuable. If you come in and you got the artwork side of it down, you're like, hey, by the way, I know how all this stuff is done. So when you ask me to give you a sketch of an idea, I know how to make sure it stays in budget, and I know how to make sure that it's manufacturable, and I know how to make sure it's buildable. That's hugely valuable because everybody else comes in and goes, I make pretty pictures, but they're not makeable. Does that make sense? That makes you valuable. And it could be the same thing with the other stuff where you know the pipeline of a movie or something. Maybe you did a lot of whatever, you know, texture mapping or this or that or the other, and you're at the further end of the pipeline, but you're seeing kind of how all that stuff happens and what's expected of each department getting up to your department, you know, and you see, oh, here's where the concept people fall apart, because when they hand this stuff off to the model department or whoever, they're not thinking at all about this in 3D. So that person's gone because they can't think, you know, in a way that it makes the model departments or whoever's job easier to do, you know, or, you know, they can just concentrate on their job, not trying to fix what you didn't do. Okay.
Like if he would have stayed, he would have gotten so much skill sets, and then if he did find something even better, he could have just easily hopped onto that.
And I don't even care if like you go, I don't really want to work for engineering. I don't know why you wouldn't, but that's fine, you know, but learn. Like it's not about just like this. When you get very narrow focused, at least to me, and I know some people specialize and that's fine, but I'd argue that probably a lot of people who are specializing were pushed into a specialization, not pushed, but found their specialization when they came in. They might have came in as a generalist and all that kind of stuff. And then they're doing a little of this and a little of that. And then they sort of fall into this niche where they're really good at this thing, you know, and then the company's going to go, yeah, that's your job. Okay, now you're lighting supervisor, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And you just start going down this path, and it's usually because it's kind of what you like to do, therefore you're good at it. and then it gets recognized, and you sort of find your specialization if you want to do that, or you you just become a specialist or whatever. That's fine. You know what I mean? But I just look at everything as an opportunity. It's like I wouldn't care. To be honest, I wouldn't care. I never did really care. Not that I didn't care, but I could work on kind of any kind of product. And I just went, I'm a designer. So what I do, I design stuff. It doesn't matter to me really what it is, to be honest. I don't want to design the penny saver, which is dating myself. You guys probably don't know. I don't want to design car wash flyers. I don't want to do that. Okay. But like everything else, a little more upscale, obviously, than that. I want to do. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. I'll do one more screen grab today, but not right now. So let me get rid of this and this. Okay. So are people having trouble with this? Because I'm curious as to why I don't have more to look at.
Did you get both of my files, Mike?
Yeah, I got a folder from you.
Okay. For me, the Canyon is just really honestly getting started. I kind of had this.
I don't care where you're at in it. I just
Okay.
expect to see people kind of getting started.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I haven't-
don't expect anybody to be finished or any of that kind of stuff.
I finished out the planet, so I was holding off on doing the canyon today. So I haven't done any more since the last one you saw in the canyon.
Okay. So I wouldn't care what everybody started. I just feel like there should be more starts because you know what I mean? And what I'm trying to do is launch you into the weekend where you have. Are we off on Monday?
I don't
think so.
Yeah, one of my classes said that we aren't meeting on Monday for them because of the holiday.
So hang on a second.
But I would be more than happy to meet. It'd be no issue. But one of my other classes did bring that up.
Who was it? Do you know?
Trigonometry. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Chris Larson.
Wow, you're doing trigonometry?
I'm taking 16 units this summer.
Ooh. What's your major?
Industrial design.
Oh, you're industrial design? Where you at?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. But wait, where are you taking it at? I forgot.
To be honest, why I didn't send anything today. I'm just having finals for a lot of my classes this last week. So
well,
it's
I'm
just
not
really
due
busy.
right now. Listen to me. I'm not due right now. So actually, that's a smart move on your part. I have no problem with that. You're managing your time. I just expect my stuff to get done when it needs to.
Yeah,
get
I
done.
figured. That's why I kind of delegated it.
That's right. I forgot you were. Okay, so where are you just at Fullerton right now?
Yeah, I'm just at Fullerton.
And we talked about this. What did we say we're going to do? I forgot.
Hello, I'm just at Fullerton.
What's that?
He's frozen
Sorry, I
with
think my
excitement.
internet is really bad.
Well, we talked about
No.
doing the Saturday. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, did he
Yeah,
leave?
he's frozen with
Did he-
excitement,
oh,
guys.
yeah.
I'm okay now.
You are
Yeah, you're
okay
now.
now.
Better.
Okay. Ian, I'll talk to you in a minute. I want to buckle down with you.
Yeah,
and
no
go over
problem.
that, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We talked about Fusion
Absolutely.
360 and Frank's class and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, we did. Next semester I'm trying to take Frank's design class and the futuristic car design class as well.
Okay, good.
The Thursday one,
Do
right
Do
next
you
to
already
each
have
other.
experience with? Do you already have experience with Maya and all that? Am I frozen?
No, I was thinking if I should take the Maya one next
Okay.
semester.
Have you talked to Frank?
But yeah.
Ian,
No, I have not spoken in person.
oh, no, you don't have to talk to him in person. I think I gave him a heads up, but I'll give him another heads up. Send him an email. Tell him what you're telling me because I've been talking to you about the drawing part. If I remember that discussion now, and tell Frank
Yeah,
that you're
I'm
now.
also one of the classes
Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the classes I'm taking right now is that basic drawing class, which is just like complete bullshit, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it's not helpful and the professor is like not there at all.
Really?
And it's like a complete waste of my time.
Who is it?
I mean, I hate to like throw him under the bus,
I
but
don't
like,
care.
that guy like Javier,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah, I think
Um,
Sheena is in that class as well. So yeah, I'm not getting anything out of that class in terms of that, but it fulfills like the unit I need for wanting to transfer in industrial design.
yeah, okay. That's just something you got to get out of the way. The hell with it. And actually getting it out of the
Yeah,
way online is probably a good way to do it. You know what I mean?
that's what I thought. Yeah, that was my mentality.
I want to go over some stuff with you. Maybe we'll do a private Zoom. I want to go over some drawing things with you that I can just kind of put in your head that'll make that stuff make a
Yeah.
lot more sense than what you want to do.
Yes, please, please. Yeah, that would no problem. I have like anytime after like 4 on
All
Monday
right,
through
so
Thursday is like no issue.
let me put it in my notebook. I'll start. I'm going to write down a list of things that I think you ought to do, just so we know,
Yeah,
just so we can get a good plan.
yeah, absolutely.
Right now, I'm really into. My time is getting like so. It's got to be so hyper scheduled, and it's weird because I only have one class this term, but I have to get prepared. I have so much prep to do for fall, and even this class.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I'm
not
I
complaining
stacked
about
the
it.
stuff.
I'm not
Yeah,
complaining
for
about it.
sure.
All I'm saying is that I'm finally realized it's like I've got to make a really hyper. Everything's got to go on my calendar. Everything's got to come up as an alert. Everything's got to be hyper scheduled. Otherwise, I'm not going to get it all done. So I'm making a list right
That's
now.
what I was saying. Yeah, like that's me right now. Like with just taking so many classes, I just want to like push through it, and that's what I'm trying to do with just like learning programs and straight up just trying to like really delegate my time in that way, and like doing online Zooms and stuff like that. Honestly, makes it so much easier to be able to like see my day in a timeline. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
normally, like at school and like that, it's not that easy. I think it's kind of like one of the hidden luxuries of all this. It's easy
Yeah.
to like really frame your day out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're also negating a travel time and all that. You just roll in.
Exactly. Yeah.
That part of it's cool. The part of it I like being in the classroom. But I
Yeah.
think I've said this before, what I've learned from doing this, because I've learned a lot of things doing this, which is great, because every time you change your perspective, you learn things. And I've sort of learned, I've just done a lot of things. And one of the things is that this Zoom thing, this stuff is going to be incorporated into when we go back in the classroom, I'm keeping all this stuff involved in it with students who might be at work.
Because it has a place. Yeah.
Yeah, might be at work and they got an hour at lunch and we can Zoom during that because they can't get to my office hours or whatever, and keep that involved in our, in the classroom thing too. I think that would be helpful,
Absolutely. I agree.
This technology is actually really simple to use. I really like it. So, anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is pretty straightforward. And the other thing is I want to expand, well, we all do. We want to expand our online presence now more. And since we had to get shoved into it and organize ourselves in a classroom setting or whatever.
Yeah,
now
seriously.
it's going to be easiest for do hybrid classes where, I can do a class that's partially online or totally online. I think from now on in summer, I'm going to try and always do my classes online just because I usually do one class in the summer. And that way I'm not down the hill for 4 days for one class. And certain classes like this one and certain classes work really well online. So yeah, I don't really have that big a problem with this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think this has been fine online, to be honest. Like I don't feel there's been too much in terms of the actual like learning ability with what you've been teaching that's been lost via Zoom.
Yeah, I don't feel
it seems
that
to have
way
gotten
either.
all across in the same.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, a lot of it, and I always say this,
Yeah.
a lot of teaching period, whether it's in a class or it's online, doesn't matter. It's everybody will attribute it to the teacher or whatever. It's a symbiotic thing. Like the teacher has to have a good class. It doesn't matter how good a teacher is if he has a lousy class. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So if you've got a receptive class, and I'm really learning this, that I've been sort of underestimating certain ways that I want to do things with students, because I was like, these kids, they just want to do all this fanboy stuff and all this crap and and I'm trying to do an illustration class that's talking about ideas, man, they grabbed onto that like great, like they were hungry for that. You know what I mean? And then in
Yeah,
this
absolutely. I
class,
mean, once it's like, yeah, once it's really shown, I feel like it's definitely something anyone with a brain can appreciate. You know, it's
yeah,
like, you know, once you can like break it down with really the like ability that shows, you know, why that is, you know, more artistic and why that's something to be shooting for more than just the character thing. I think people can understand that, you know,
yeah,
for
I do
sure.
too. And I think like when I showed you guys Rakowski stuff, everybody in here was like, whoa. And that tells me,
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
okay, so you guys get the painterly thing. Because then I always in my head go, because I see so much of this entertainment stuff and it's all super slick and everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That's a style and that's fine. But I think you need to understand the looser stuff, even if you want to go to that tighter stuff, because you're going to be better. You're going to know how much to tighten up and how much to leave loose to get that appearance of a very naturalistic thing. Okay. Or when it comes to industrial design with drawing, like understanding, or even what we're doing in here, like understanding kind of quick rendering techniques and things like that. So you can
Yeah.
quickly render an idea and put it in front of a lot of people. And like I said before, a lot of times when you're working on a product or something like that, a lot of times you're presenting to people they're not creative people. Okay. They're money
Definitely.
people. They're money
Yeah.
people. They're engineers. They're show set people. They're lighting people. They're special effects vendors. They're
No,
furniture
absolutely.
people. You got to be able to communicate to all those people, you know, and just doing some loose, fast sketch in that case, they're not going to get it, you know. But then if you're working with me, like I've said before, yeah, I'm going to just give me a loose, fast sketch. That's fine. But because now we're having a dialogue through sketches and all that stuff, right? But
Absolutely.
and I think, and what I'm trying to get everybody doing, I know I probably said this already, but trying to get everybody to be a more sophisticated thinker in whatever it is they want to do and start understanding, like, this is about design thinking. This is not about fanboyism. It's just not about that. It's about high level design thinking. And then having, if you're doing character design, or you're doing environment design, then it becomes your drawing, your draftsmanship becomes in service to design. And you have to understand that. It's not an exercise in showing off your drawing or whatever. It's an exercise in getting a great design and visualizing it for people where they can understand it. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
So in other words,
Yeah.
look at all sorts of design. Expose yourself to everything. You know what I mean? You don't want to, you're going to pull, you want to be able to pull from anywhere. Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
No,
like this planet thing. I know I said this already, but it's important to go. I do the same because I look at teaching and I go, this is just design also. So then I go, well, I can do this sphere thing with a gradient map, or I can just do a planet. But then my skill set is strong enough where I basically can wing that whole thing in the meeting. But I know I can do that. I don't have to sit around and do a dry run of it or whatever. I just go, oh, I'll do a planet. Cool. And I'll figure it out tomorrow in class. Does that make sense?
yeah, for sure. No,
Fluidity.
definitely.
Fluidity in your skill set. Okay. That's super important to me anyway. I don't like to rely on systems and all that stuff. That drives me crazy. All right,
Hey
I'm gonna-
Mike, I checked the calendar. It looks like Monday it's a holiday.
okay.
So I don't know.
All right. So Monday we have a holiday. So it's going to give you an extra day. Okay.
Boo.
Huh?
Boo.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'll be in town or not. I'm not sure. Because to be honest with you, I wouldn't care about meeting either, but I should follow the rules to a certain extent.
No worries.
And it'll give me okay, so I'm on, okay, this is sort of an update anyway for anybody who's in animation. We're hiring a full-time animator, okay? I'm on the hiring committee. I just got the email this morning that we're going to go ahead with the face-to-face interviews because I made a big stink about, me and Frank talked because we're both on a hiring committee, and I go, I do not want to do this on Zoom. This is a person who could potentially be here for 20, 30 years, right? And we have a certain dynamic with the three of us that works really well. We don't work against each other. We work with each other. We like each other. And we all respect each other's skill set, which I think is hugely important. Because I've worked with a lot of people that don't respect their skill set, and I never can have any respect for them. But anyway, so they're going ahead with that. So that means this weekend I got to go through, I think it's about 30 candidates, and I have to rate all of them. And it actually is going to take some time that I hadn't scheduled into my weekend, because I just work over the weekend usually. And I have all the stuff to do for fall, but and for this class. Actually, I have a huge thing I got to do for this class this weekend. So that'll give me an extra day to do that. I just realized he said he wants it by Monday, but Monday's a holiday, so nobody's going to look at it. But anyway, we want to get a great animator instructor here. That'd be great. He'll be full-time, and then we can really, it'll open it up, because Frank's doing that right now. Plus he's doing all 3D stuff, and he doesn't, it's hard to do all that stuff for one person or whatever. Does that make sense? So I'm super excited about it, in other words. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
And the other thing I like is that they'll be able to give a different perspective on other things. So if they're coming out of animation, they should teach character design. They can teach whatever it is they've done from their point of view. I might even have them teach one of my classes here and there and get a different point of view on it. Things like that, and maybe I could alternate a class with them where they have a different point of view than I do, and I have this point of view, and so on and so forth. Because I do like teachers having a different point of view, and it'll be good and they'll also be a co-manager of the program. So right now it's the 3 of us. Now it'll be 4 of us, right? Okay. I want to share my screen with you. So I don't have a lot to go through here, because I plan on having more. All right, so what do you think, John?
I was pretty happy. We
I
came
like
together.
the cracked Earth look, or the cracked kind of volcanic planet look.
Thanks. Elon did ice, so I was like, I'm gonna go for fire.
I always love when I know this sounds really stupid, when like 2 surfaces crack and there's like a light coming through it. I always love that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I want to see.
Don, how'd you do that?
The cracks on the planet,
Yeah.
I actually just hand drew them. I started with a dark red, and I shaded the shade is on a layer. You can see it says planet shadow on one of my layers. So I started with that, and then I just drew the dark colors in with a
Well, that's
deep
smart.
red.
That's smart. So you opaked out some of the light.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like it's on the other side. Like if that solar or the lens flare was a solar glare,
Yeah.
so the light would be coming from that way. So I tried to shadow the planet similarly. And then I drew in the deep red and then went over it with an orange and then a screaming hot
Well,
orange.
This right here is great. This whole layer here. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
See,
I may
that's
have
what I like.
drawn on wrong layers.
That's what I like. Improvisation. Now you're improvising, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I was just thinking something to give it something on the backside, but be dark so the comet trail stuck out. Red is, red and orange are opposite of blue, so I used the orangey amber smoke or clouds nebula, and then did the red fire planet, so it kind of popped that comet out more.
Let me see something here.
I also built up the layers of the clouds the same way. I did a dark color first, then like a brighter, and then the screaming hot pinpoints. So everything was a little bit layered on
The
this
only
one.
thing I might kind of play with, I mean, you can go on and on about this stuff. It doesn't really
Oh yeah, I'm sure I could have went down the rabbit hole for like another
I mean,
weekend.
I do the same. Look, it's the same. It's the reason why you got to be careful you don't overwork things. Like I want to, and the other thing is like if I'm like I'm doing this demo for next week for this class, right? And I'm just dragging the thing out because I'm having fun with it, Because my girlfriend will go, "Wow, you spent a lot of time on that." And I go, "No, if you add up all the time I spent on it, it's probably about 3 or 4 hours." But I'm dragging it out because I kind of savor the process and it's fun. Does that make sense? But
Definitely.
what I got to be careful of is that I don't overwork it, right?
Yeah,
But
that's
the
what I was
beauty
a
of
little afraid
digital
of.
is like you can overwork it,
That is true. Very true.
The only thing that you got to be careful of with digital to me, I'm going to do, I'm gonna do this. Hang on. Let's do this.
I was a little worried that that Spiral Galaxy was like too focusy.
No, I don't think that. I just want to try something real quick.
Okay. I was trying to do the conch shell of focus, start in the corner and spiral out. So
Yeah, hang on.
I hope that works for composition. I don't know.
Where's my God, I hate this. It keeps changing my it keeps changing my it keeps changing my tool set, and I'm not sure why it's doing that.
Uh-oh. It's probably a Mac thing.
Actually, I have to dive in. I just went down yesterday because I have the mobile studio, the Cintiq mobile studio.
Oh, okay.
Which are super expensive, by the way. I had no idea, but because
Yeah,
I'm going to
they're-
start really utilizing that for, again, I'm going to start doing a lot of tutorials for fall, and that's going to come in
Nice,
really
nice.
handy. So I'm going to be able to do a little quicker versions of on-site things and things like that I usually, and I'll still pepper in traditional stuff because my Saturday class I have to have some traditional stuff in there. But drawing's drawing, and that's going to be a really helpful tool for me for going on location and being able to go, here's how I look at this, and I'll use that, because I've got Camtasia on it and Photoshop on it, so I'll be able to, maybe even take things a little further. Maybe even, in my Saturday class, maybe talk a little bit about digital plein air and how we translate those two things together and all that kind of stuff. And I cannot find my. I don't know what's going on with this. It's not in my tool set. Hang on. It should be. Oh, so see, this is the kind of thing that I don't like happening in my class. I'm looking for my, oh, there it is. Okay, so. I'm just gonna do the lasso. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. See what it does. Come on. Okay, there it goes. So this is just this I just do to find out if I'm right or wrong. And then I'm gonna move this first. Oops. I'm gonna move this for a second. I'm gonna go back to here. And I'm going to go fill. Because that way I can see if it works or not. Because I'm wondering if this should go a little more, oops, like a little more in perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I was almost thinking that. I was like, it looks too flat, but space is all over.
No, it is.
Screw it.
It absolutely is. You're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is like that.
It looks better.
This just comes down to design decisions.
Yes, it does. You're totally right.
And I think a lot of it, to be honest with you, is just driven by, like, if I'm doing a painting like this, it's sort of fantastic sci-fi stuff. Yes, I mean, I'm sure you can have, there could be a galaxy over here and I'm looking at it from a top-down view. I mean, that could happen, right? Now, if you ever notice, whenever we see these images of the galaxy, they're always sort of a little bit in perspective. They're oval, right? So what this partly is that I think number one, I'm used to seeing it that way. But number two, just as humans, we're kind of used to thinking of things in perspective. And all of a sudden when it does, goes flat this way. And an art director might love that because they might go, hey, that looks way more kind of space, like how mind screwy that is in space, right? Or they might go, hey, people are just going to perceive it this way. Just give it a little bit of perspective, even though I don't know perspective even exists. I mean, I guess it exists in space on one level, but on another, on a logical level, it doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I felt there was something off about it, so you nailed it. Thank you.
I just think it's that. And then maybe, and then I play with the next thing I play was I go, you know, as
Yeah,
long as I have it
placement.
and I'm checking it, can it go bigger? And I don't know, right? And then I just do everything I can do with it and just go, is it better here? Is it better here? And then usually probably end at the same place. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I like that. I think that was the one thing bugging me, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, "There's something." It was too flat. You're right.
What I love about like this, look at that right there. Like that's a very complex, and somebody will probably think that you photo bash that. You know what I mean? Because it looks very right. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And what I love about that, like these kind of techniques, and I probably said this, but it's interesting to me how you start going. And this is the one thing that I've walked away from after all these years of like learning all this stuff. Is I always say it's nothing like you think it is. Does that make sense?
totally.
Like when you start really learning this stuff from somebody who knows what they're doing, you start going, this is not at all how I thought you did this. Like I would have, like if I would have gone in to try and do that nebula stuff, I would have been probably going in there with dry brush and acrylic and like trying to emulate that. Like you don't realize it's like, no, he just threw that in wet into wet. And then he let that dry and then he built some stuff out of that. And then he hit a brush and spattered some of the stars on there. And when, you know, it's the same thing as Photoshop before Photoshop, right? But I would have never
Yeah,
approached it in that sort of organic way. And that's one of the main things I came away from learning painting and illustration and all drawing, all that stuff. It's like, it's not that weird, you know, thing that you think it is. I don't know how to explain that, but hopefully as you go through it, you start understanding it really becomes about this organic thinking and letting the technique do the job or the right tool for the right job and all that kind of stuff and letting that stuff do your work for you, right? And it's not doing its work for you. It's called
totally.
technique. It's called technique, right?
Oh yeah. Even like in the bottom left, those orange clouds.
Yeah.
It looks like there's black clouds in front.
Yeah.
I was using the FX brush from Groot. I was using the cloud ones, and it was coming out too cloudy. And I found
Yeah.
if you smudged them a little and then erased in the black spots, it looked more like it was supposed to. And I was like, okay, that's a totally different technique than I would have ever tried.
Right. So what people do is they go, oh, I need that nebula stuff. So I'm going to go make a stamp brush. I'm going to stamp it in there. And it's a way of doing it quickly. I get it. But the problem
But
is now you don't understand how that works at all.
and it looks like a stamp brush. That's what I kept experiencing.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think I said this. There was a show at Gallery Nicholas. I know I talked about this, but it's important, especially now because we had that conversation a while ago. And it was all this stuff from, I think, Into the Spider-Verse, right? And I was there for the Carter Goodrich show, which was upstairs, and this was downstairs. So I go in there and I go, and number one, I'm not a big fan of looking at that stuff anyway, but I mean, I'll go look at it. Why wouldn't I? And so it was all these sort of realistic-y, concept-y paintings. I don't know which one it was for. It was for some Spider-Man thing. Maybe it wasn't Spider-Verse. I don't know where they're at with those movies. You know, and it has the shot of him landing in the street and the building's all canted angle and crazy lighting and something swooping down from the sky and all this stuff. And as far as explaining the designite thinking there, it was great. Does that make sense? As far as being an interesting painting, it wasn't. Does that make sense? It was to communicate an idea, and that's it, right? It looked very photobashy. You know, it looked like they pasted the actor's face on it, which they probably did, which I would. I mean, what am I going to do? Sit there and paint it if I don't have to? And then probably paint it around all that, into it, and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that stuff works if you're doing like
It
quick
absolutely
concept
works.
work.
That's design, though. It's
Yeah, yeah.
using illustration and all these digital tools to express a design idea. Okay, and I mean, I'm not going to spend more time on that than I mean. I used to do the same thing in Imagineering, only instead of using that, I would do a drawing on vellum, and I want this to have an old look. I'd scrunch the whole thing up, then I flatten it out, right? So it's all wrinkled. Then I take it down the street that we had an account with a blue printer, and I did what's called a brown line, which is like a blueprint, but it's brown line. So when he gives me that back, it picks up all that texture. It looks like parchment or old paper, and now it's brownish, so it looks like old paper. Then I take that back to my desk, tape it down, go over it with markers, gouache, pencil, whatever, mixed media stuff, and then get this sort of old school look. And now you wouldn't need to do that anymore because you can do that all here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think
totally.
about how many steps I just talked about Or I could have whipped it out in Photoshop, right? And I could have whipped it out in Photoshop back then. I just didn't, I don't want to use Photoshop. I didn't care about Photoshop. So and which, by the way, is really stupid. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And it was still at a time where I could get away with not, I mean, this was 98 or something, or 9, I don't know. I think it was 98. 98, 99, whatever. Okay. All right, I don't really have a lot of comments on that,
Well, thank you very much.
even though I just made a bunch of comments.
No, the comments you made really helped because there was something about it and you nailed it.
Nathan, where you at? I can see you right there.
I'm right here.
Okay. Okay, so what do you think?
I try to do more like space clouds, but every time I would draw them, I feel like I'm messing up. I draw the line and I feel like it shouldn't be there.
One thing, okay, so let's look at this real quick. So let's go, what's this here? Oh, that's your flare. Okay, cool. Oh, I like the way you did that flare. That's cool. You didn't get all like super, it looks like a star. Okay, so let's go here. Actually, let's go here. So I'd probably give it more of this stuff. There's a couple of things here. Like, is this on its own layer? So I'm going to do something like I said I don't usually do. I'm going to flatten this here just so I know, just so I can work on it quicker. So I just want to make sure that this feels like it's living in the right space. Get it? Space. I'm going to go through here and just see if there's a combination that works a little better. I don't mind it being a warm planet. Okay, so I don't like any of those. So let's go. Maybe desaturate it a little bit. Okay, and I'll figure that out. Now this stuff, I'm just going to take any old brush, I think. So let's go. I'm going to put this. Okay. And I'm going to go. I think I'll take a funky brush, hopefully. And I'm just going to give it a little more of this kind of stuff. Now, I don't want it to be the same color as the trail, so I'm going to go back to this a little bit. I'll put this behind. And then I'm going to go here. So I just want to fill up my space a little more. And this is my own planet, so I can do whatever I want, obviously. So I'm going to go, again, I want to give it some atmosphere, but maybe it's a screaming hot atmosphere. Who knows? And I can adjust it so it's not going to matter. I'm going to go a little bigger. Oops. I'm holding on Option so it goes out from the middle. And I'm going to try something weird here. I don't know if this will work or not. I'm going to go in with a hotter color. It's like we talked about before. Oops. Actually, that might be kind of cool. Hang on. Where's that? I'm going to try, wait, I'm going to try it this way for now. Now I'm going to try Something different here. I don't like that. Not dramatic enough, so I'm gonna have to go back to the one that always is dramatic. And maybe I'm gonna try and give it like a kind of corona, like a sun corona kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like kind of like flames are coming out or something.
Yeah, like this, you know, you look at the, it's called a corona, right? On the sun, you get this kind of corona thing. I hadn't thought of that till just now. It's another idea that maybe I could try. And then I'm gonna try and go, and it's gonna be, the thing I love about this is the back and forth of it. I just love finding the, I love finding the solution. And I'd probably go look at the sun a little bit, see what I could do. That's not too bad. But then I'm going, okay, I need a little more of this hot color in here. Oh, that's fine. That's good. Yeah. Maybe some of it'll flare out more, at least on the sun. So it just depends on how crazy I want to get. I usually want to get crazy. Let's try one more thing. I'm going to try something else here. Let's try this one. Some of them I'm just going to I want a variety of edges, so some of them I'm just going to soften up. And these ones that are going off into space a little more, I don't like that shape that much. I'm going to get rid of. Oh, that's kind of cool. And then up where it does that, I might be able to even go sort of white hot. Almost white hot. You know, something like that, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I go, it's almost weird to have this like warm, I mean, crazy hot stuff coming off it, but it's my universe, so screw it, right? So I could just leave it like that, or I could go, okay, now what should I shift this to? Maybe it's a little like more like that. But then maybe I go, I'm going to take my sponge tool, my saturate. It's on desaturate. I'm going to saturate it. I'm going to pull the flow up a little bit. And then I'm going to go back into this planet. And I might heat up some of this stuff and just play around with it. You know, maybe I'll come in here. Let's try this. I don't know if this will work or not. And I'm going to go over this tool on Monday. If I can find it. I don't know why it's rearranging my, or it's actually defaulting my tool set. I'm not sure why it's doing that. So I keep resetting it and it keeps doing this. I'm going to see if I can do this. I don't know if this will work. Maybe I need some more of that red in there. That's too much. Find edges. What do we want? We just want, let's try hue. Yeah, I don't like that. Hang on. Sure if that's going to work. Hang on. I'm going to try color one more time. And if it works, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I don't want that. Oh, no, I do want that. Okay. And then I want it. Let's see if I can tolerance, put it way down. No. Nope. So maybe I'm going to put a color layer over this. I'm going to go color. Because remember, we could tint with color. So I think I want to get, it shouldn't be that hot. I don't know why it's so hot, but we'll just go for now. I might try and get some of this color in here. Anyway, so I build it up a little bit so it feels a little like, you know, a little warmer, a little bit of that warmth on the interior of the planet and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So it'll match altogether.
Yeah, and then I'd also go, especially with a burning edge like that, I'm for sure going to come in here with my blur tool. And I might even do it pretty heavy on here. I'm just going to combine. Oh, that's fine. Because those edges are going to get pretty lost with a burning edge like that. And maybe, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff I can do. That's probably a little too much, but that's okay. I'm going to go back a little bit. We want to sort of integrate that edge into the fire. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then it's starting to get this, I mean, this is just going off the map a little bit, but, you know, what if I go, take this red and say this thing is hurtling through space. And it's got this energy trail here. Back there, it would get a lot more dissipated. So up in the front, be a little more like that. And closer to the source of it, as it comes towards the planet, I could go again, go with that really hot value in color. Pull a little more back here. Let it dissipate. You know, and then maybe back there it gets, I'd probably shift it back there to, I don't know, maybe a cooler color. It starts to kind of cool off back there as it cools off literally in temperature.
So is cool more like white and then, or yeah, is cool more like black and then warm
No,
is
cool,
the
I'm
more
just
white?
literally, right now, I'm just literally using purple.
Okay.
I'm pulling it off the planet. So I'm just going like, here's a purple, and I'm just putting it in here. And what's going to happen is I know it's going to sort of mix with the oranges and stuff, so it's going to kind of cancel each other out, which is what I want. Does that make sense from a color perspective?
Uh-huh.
So, you know, if you look at we've looked at this before. If you get a building on fire, the fire and the warmth climbs into the bottom part of the cloud, and then as it goes up towards the sky, it cools off and it starts catching blues from the sky, usually. If the sky is overcast, it'll go real grayish. If the sky is warm, it'll still catch really reduced saturation of whatever that bounce color is. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, I could also then start to come in here and go, are there any of these, like motion blur, that I could play with? That doesn't really work. or I could go like this. This is probably what I would do. I'd go, I'd probably go to this really watery smudge tool and let it really dissipate back here and get super soft edged back here. And then keep it a little sharper in the foreground. I want it to really dissipate back there. You know, and then maybe I'd probably get a little more like on this edge of the planet where it's going into the trail. I might obliterate some of that. So it sort of feels like it's getting ate up by that energy trail coming out and into the planet. I might even pull some of this in. I probably would pull some of that in. Let me see if I can do it this way.
Kind of like it's getting sucked up.
Well, just like it's sort of this hot edge is blurring off into the background so that those two colors are going to kind of blur together a little bit. So I'm going to take, again, this rougher brush. And then I'm going to pull some of, there's one in here that let me find it. It's scratchy, it's this one. It sort of does this weird scratchy thing. I could even do that. And then I could blur that again in a different way and see if I can get that to, oops, see if I can get that to start to work. I'm just basically translation, I'm trying to just find solutions to make this work. Does that make sense? So that's starting to work. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now it's a different approach to the, now, you know, and I probably what got my brain thinking on this is playing around with John's, which was going with a hot idea. So then I go, oh, Corona. I don't have to have a clean atmosphere. I can have this burning Corona thing, you know. And then it's funny because then people will go, well, that can't happen because it's like, it's my world, man. I go, it's, and I can make up a million excuses why this is happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And no, they're not going to, I wouldn't do this if I was working with a guy from the natural history or some astronomy thing or whatever. He'd be going, dude, that can't happen. I go, yeah, I know. But it's kind of cool though, you know?
Yeah.
Or I can go, it's Captain So-and-so's ice world that is surrounded by heat, and somehow that logic, like, then you go down this whole I mean, Spider-Man, the guy got bit by a radioactive spider. It's like the dumbest setup in the universe. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden he takes on spider powers. How did that work? It doesn't matter how it works. You believe it. You know what I mean? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd even go even further here and go, I don't know. Let's see. If I go, I think I'd want to get these edges feel like the whole planet's just sort of burning into itself. Because I think that's what would happen. I don't think you'd have a hard edge. I think you'd have this crazier edge here. I'm even going to swirl some of this stuff so the whole thing starts to feel like it has this sort of on fiery kind of thing going on. Make sense?
Yeah.
I don't like that hard edge right there. So now I'm going to, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to combine them. That way I can just pull these. Let me make sure I didn't get that. No, I didn't. And look how I'm getting a nice painterly kind of thing. Feels like fat brush work right there. You see that?
Uh-huh.
So now you got this burning ball of whatever. Okay, so, and then you got, one thing I might do with this, I might just tilt it. And it's only because I just want to get things to feel dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I might go back to this reddish color, get real hot right there on the foreground. Just take these same kind of colors. And then I'm going to pull it back into here. And now I'm going to really reduce the size of this smudge.
I was also doing this super zoomed in. I think I need to zoom out more.
You need to go back and forth. Like if you need to go in and tweak something, that's fine. But that's important. The other thing I always do is I do this. I always go image rotation, flip horizontal, and I go, is it working? Because you'll see it fall apart. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then, and then I just go back. And then what happens is if it's just a little off, I tweak things in reverse. So then I'm balancing things, and then when I flip it back again, I know if I'm going back and forth that way, that it's going to be a very balanced image. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's go. And then, so this now is getting lost a little bit because this pink, and that might be cool, by the way. I don't know. But, wait, hang on a sec. I just want to look at something real quick. Because I keep wondering about this and I keep forgetting to look it up. So what I've been wondering about, and it looks like it doesn't.
To add to your statement, Mike,
Yeah,
flipping it back and forth, I watched that dragon video from Rutowski.
yeah.
He does that constantly, so you can see how he adjusts, doing the same exact thing. Adjust a little, flip back. Adjust a little,
Yeah,
flip back.
I didn't invent any of it.
Oh no, I'm just letting everyone know. Like a lot of artists do that, and you can see it in progress in those videos.
Oh, that's great. So the thing I've been thinking about is like, does Earth from space have a core shadow? And I don't see one, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so we have this thing, and now I'm going. Okay, so now I'm sorry, I'm going down the rabbit hole, but I might now go. I want to have this fire. Not that one. Yeah, maybe this one. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. Let's just try this one. Let's try this one. Now I'm going, well, now the fire could actually be eating into this would actually sort of eat into the planet a little bit. That's probably what's going to happen. And then I just want to transition it. Because you're going to get a lot of, and then I just have to keep doing this stuff and modeling it and shaping it until I felt like I think all this could just get, all this could sort of get obliterated a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then this little trail, that's another one where I'm going to go, do I need to shift it? No, I screwed up. Oh, well. Do I need to shift it? So I have these on the same layer, which is a total screw up, but let's just go here. So I'll take this off. So I always have to turn off that top layer because it's always going to grab that layer. I'm going to make this a little hotter. Or maybe I'll do it this way. Yeah, like that. That's a little better. And then this, I'm going to see if I can give it a different color so it doesn't get lost. Actually, it's kind of cool like that. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I got an extra thing right here on accident, so it's on the same layer. I'll get rid of that. Oh, maybe it's not. Yeah, it is. There it is. I want to get rid of this little. Actually, maybe I'll just obliterate it. That's better. Okay, so now we're getting all these kind of hot colors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and I like this little shift of green to blue. So I might now come in here and go, Now I've got my smudge, or not my smudge, my desaturate sponge. It's at 45. And I might kind of obliterate some of that back here so it's not as bright back here or as saturated back here. Because it's dissipating away, so I'm assuming the heat's dying off as it goes around. Maybe more like that. Maybe a little more. And then maybe I'll go the opposite here. And go really hot right here. Really heat up that front end energy trail by just making it way more saturated. Just like that. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna try the canyon today.
Yeah, and then let's still obliterate this edge a little bit and so on and so forth. Then I'd add a few things down here and you're done. A little more nebula down at the bottom right or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I was thinking, what I would do next on this thing is my thinking started to go. You guys ever heard of a Dyson sphere?
I haven't.
It's a theory by, I think it was a physicist named Dyson. And his logic was that a really highly advanced civilization would build this structure around a star to create endless power sources. Does that make sense? So then you go, that sounds cool. Then they found this star that was so what happens with a star is they know what goes in front of it or whatever. So they know how the light pattern repeats because something's orbiting it or whatever, right? So they found this star way out there that's like repeating and then going like this. It's doing something they've never seen before. And one of the theories was, and this even came from JPL, and JPL was going, look, this is way out in left field that this could be happening, but it could be that idea of like a Dyson sphere because that's what it would do from a light perspective. So then I just love the idea of going, I'd love to just take one of these now and just build a Dyson sphere around it and see what, in my mind what that looks like. And I don't even know, like, I'm sure there's conceptualizations, renderings of it. I just want to kind of know, okay, that's how it works. Okay, and then I kind of make it my own version of that. Maybe it's not a Dyson sphere. There's just the idea of technology floating around a planet or whatever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
John put a thing up yesterday. John, what was that? That contest or whatever it was.
Oh, Proco. Proco's doing a Proco challenge for space.
I loved that painting. It was very simple, real flat,
Super
just
awesome.
really good values and stuff, right? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's kind of that idea, right? Or just how now can I put some technology around this, And I just keep thinking of that Dyson sphere going around just because I always have a vision of it in my head of what it looks like. And then I can go off the deep end and who knows where that's going to lead me, okay? Which again is why I like digital painting, because I can just explore this stuff with really no consequence. I can just put a layer on it and go, I'm going to try this Dyson sphere thing. Wow, that sucked. It doesn't work. Try something else, Yeah?
Yeah.
Dyson sphere looks cool.
Oh, did you find one?
Yeah. Mina put a link in the description or in the chat.
Oh, cool. Hang on. I love the idea of it. And I love the idea that for a moment there, they were like, that could be a Dyson sphere out in space, which would prove civilization, in space.
Way advanced civilization.
Yeah, super advanced civilization. I don't know where they're at with that. I think they might come up with some other stuff. I don't know. We'll never know in our lifetimes. Okay, Dyson sphere, hang on. Well, he put it in here. Hang on. I don't know why. Okay, there it is. Put it in the chat. Every now and then my control bar disappears in Zoom, which I'm not exactly sure what's going on with. Oh, there it is. Let's go here.
Your options go away.
They're here, actually. You have to go up to the top and it drops down. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
It's not them. It's actually a pretty good system. It's just me.
I always hit Alt and then go, what the hell happened to everything?
I love them. Okay. trying to find that link. Oh, well, I'll find it in a little bit. Okay. Wait, I got to do another screen grab. This is my last one, I think. All right, there's that. I'd just like to get this stupid attendance crap out of the way. There we go. Okay, sorry. All right. Let me see what else I got here. Now, I can't get too far into my Canyon discussion until you guys have started it, because I don't want to start adding to the conversation and confusing. I want you to kind of get started on it, and then I can do the same thing we're doing here and go, we could do this, we could do this, we could take it here, we could do that, we could do this, okay? But I need that stuff to get started. Okay, so there's that. All right, so Nathan, that all makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Where's Brandon? You there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what do you think?
Well, I had a problem with doing the background part because for some reason, I guess some of the brushes I was using was a smudge brush and not an actual.
Oh, well, yeah. The smudge brush
So, like-
isn't going to do nothing but smudge.
Yeah. So I was like getting really confused, like, why is it not doing color? And then I was realized, oh, it's just smudging the color behind it and not actually using
Yeah.
the color.
Now, the trick with the smudging stuff and all that stuff is it's not about smudging or blending. It's about edge control. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we want a variety of edges that we're controlling. What you see all the time, you guys haven't been doing this at all, which is really good, is I go, here's a technique to use this, and we'll go through different techniques, but then somebody will go and just smooth everything out everywhere so everything looks like it's airbrushed, and it's like, no, you got to make choices as to edges. You got to make choices as to shapes and where things fade out and pull in, and where I'm getting a little more information and less information and so on and so forth, right? And that's really all those are for. Okay. Is that your house that I'm hearing?
Yeah, sorry, my grandma's talking so much.
Go over there. All right. So I want this to be, did this start off as a stroke, this energy trail?
I can't really see it. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I
It looks like it was
drew that.
hand done.
Yeah,
What's
I was
that?
hand. I did it by hand because.
Okay, what I want you to do, and this is just so you know how to do this stroke thing, is just go in here and then go edit and put it on its own layer.
Yeah.
Stroke, and then just determine how wide you want it, what color you want. So if I want a really hot color, I could pull it up into here and just go, okay. And then I get that as a starting point, right? And now if it's on its own layer, which I didn't do it on its own layer, I can, start manipulating it.
Yeah.
Or I can do that with a pen tool, right? Because you can go to pen tool.
Wait, I tried doing with the pen tool, but I wasn't sure how to like make it a line and not just.
Right. So I'm going to go to here, go to, see, it rearranged my whole damn, I don't know what's going on with it. Anyway. Go to paths, and let's go to make select. Selection's not going to work. Save path. Hang on. It's blocking me off for some reason. Hang on. I'm going to put a new layer here. Okay. Oh, I know what it is. There it is. That's right. And then I'm going to go back to my paths. And it should actually do it. Hang on. The path is giving me trouble. Okay, I know what it is. Okay, so I don't want to make it a selection. I want to go. It should be giving me this selection or this thing right here where it says stroke path.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm not sure why it's not giving me that. Hang on. If I can't, they might have changed it and I'll have to check it out. I don't want that. I just want to stroke the path. Oh, here it is, stroke path. Okay, so I right-clicked it, stroke path. I'm going to pick, and now it's giving me this dialog box. I don't want pencil. So it would just pick whatever brush I have selected probably. And I'm just going to go, okay. Then it stroked the path, right?
Yep.
So you have to go through the path. The path is this weird thing where it makes a path, but it's just a path. Until you make it a
Yeah.
selection or a stroke or something like that, it's just a path.
All
Okay.
right.
I'll go over that a little more. It looks like a couple of things have changed on it, so I'll go over it a little more later. Okay, does that all make sense?
Yep.
And then, so do that here so you at least start off with sort of a clean, and I just do it this way, then I tilt it, and then I adjust it,
Yeah.
And, here, again, we can come back in here. Same thing I've been saying, basically. Just shape these out so it feels like they're shaped out. And I might leave some of that interior. Sometimes I go into a really big one at first because it sort of just blows everything out. Some of this, some of that, make sure it's filling a space in a nice way. Make sure I've got different edges, different textures, things like that. And I might go in again with another brush like this, Oops. I might do that towards the end because that's starting to feel like a nice oil brush. And I might just leave some of that. I don't want all of it, but I might leave some of that in the middle so it starts to feel like a buildup of paint, if that makes any sense. Make sense?
Yep. That's.
And then same thing here, you might want to soften that planted edge. See how it feels very cut out?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And then I kind of like all this. I just might vary the color on the surface of the planet a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do, maybe even vary the, I'm going a little too hot, but I might just go in there and pop some of these things from a, way too big way too small a tool for this. Vary some of the color here a little bit, and I'm just doing that with the saturation tool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could go, I go back and forth and go, that's too much, and I might desaturate it or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Nina.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on here?
I was having a lot of issues with the brush stroke. I never seemed to quite get it to where I wanted it to be. And I just kind of felt that I worked too hard on this. Well, not worked hard, but I just really tried too hard to make it work. And I'm definitely going to be redoing it later tonight.
It's a weird thing because when I don't like to go like when I did the original demo and I go, yeah, simple, right? And I'm not trying to say this is simple, by the way. What I'm trying to say is the underlying logic of it is fairly simple. It's not, that doesn't mean it's simple. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I don't want to come off like I'm doing that because I think I told you guys, my ex-girlfriend pointed out one time, she goes, hey, you think it's so simple? And then she's being snotty to me. And I go, it's not that I think it's simple. I just think that the underlying logic of it is simple. And I want to present it that way. So I'm not going, hey, this is so hard to do. You're never going to be able to do it. I don't want to do that. Right.
Yeah, no, like what you've been saying in terms of like abstracting the mindset behind it is pretty straightforward. It's
Okay.
that application that you're just going to have to work on and just repeat. and
Absolutely. That's
just
it.
like hone it down, you know?
And what you'll do is you'll make a couple of marks and go, oh, that's starting to look like it. And then you'll just roll down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But it's really just getting a combination of these edges. I mean, you'll hear this all the time from really great painters. They'll constantly talk about edges, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I can go through this fairly quickly, and I could probably start to get it to look pretty good. Right now it's feeling a little spattery, like a spatter painting almost. Which, by the way, remember how you did that, because one of these days you're going to want to do that again for some other reason. Like this back here is starting to work pretty good. It just needs a sort of softening of some of the edges. Like out here, I'll probably just knock it out completely. And then it's always a back and forth process where I'm coming back, painting things back in, painting things out. You know, and I never worry. I never let any of this get precious. I never go like, ooh, I'm going to lose this. And if I do, I go save as. And I save it as version 2, save it, and then now I'm working on version 2, then version 3. I do that all the time. I go through a million versions. Just because I'm saving those insurance policies back there. If I totally screw something up or accidentally flatten it or something, I go, well, I got this one. I got the last one. But I can probably just go in here and start to just get some of that gassy stuff first. Leave some of this other stuff, and that's fine. Blow out some of this here. Just start to get my sort of gassy nebula kind of thing going. I'm going to soften these edges. So this stuff will just kind of fade out. And then I can go back in with my brush and start to pop some of the brushwork back in. And then it's starting to read a little nicer, like a little more painterly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
So,
I didn't even,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I didn't even, no, I was just going to say that I didn't even consider about going back and forth with it. And that's something I'm definitely going to be working on.
It's pretty much always a back and forth process.
Mm-hmm.
Even real painting, whatever. It's you know, you're building things up, and then sometimes like on an oil painting, I'll just wipe a whole area out that I just did and wipe it right back down to the canvas and start all over again, you know?
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm just wiping an edge, or I'm rubbing something out and building paint up and swiping an edge. Same thing with oil paint, okay? Same thing with gouache. Same thing with acrylic. Watercolor is a little different, but basically the same thing, okay? Now here, I might go, well, you guys, you also have this thing where you can go up here. We played with this, where we go to adjustments, brightness, contrast, and I might just try pushing the contrast. See if you push the contrast, that might help a little bit. Then I think I'd probably shift the color on this a little. It's kind of odd, but in a kind of cool way though. And I might just, again, I'm going to do the same thing here, where like this is a landmass probably. So I need sort of a more of a, let's try this. Ooh, too much. That's actually cool though. If I pull this strength back, let's pull the strength way down. That's not so bad. A little too big. Oops. So I'm just using a different smudge tool here, and I'm just going to soften or break them up. This one, the reason I like this one so much is it breaks everything up. If it's pretty big, it breaks it up in a sort of broken edge kind of way, which like on this kind of thing I might want. And I'm going to leave some hard edges on here, just not everywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Um,
That's one of my favorite brushes too, or smudge tools.
yeah, I love that tool, man. So I start with it all the time. I forgot to put up a video yesterday of the cloud idea. I'm going to put that up today. Hey, did you guys look at some of the gradient map people I put up there?
Gonna look at that tonight when I do Clouds for Canyon today.
Okay, I want to add one today.
I
It's
watched them
really-
both. They were good.
One that I thought was really cool for you guys. There's two. The first one, which is the guy that's just got a basic kind of a silhouette environment, and he just boom does it with a gradient tool in like 5 minutes. Right? That's a great one. That one's really good. And then there's another one where the guy's kind of going over his little compositional studies, which you guys do all the time, like environment and stuff. Look at that, man, because like it's really cool because now a lot of you guys have a lot of that stuff from Phil's class. Go back now and apply that to it and play around with that and just get those instant color things with it. Does that make sense? That's what I want you guys doing. When you go into Phil's class, I want you to go, boom. Hey, yeah, I did all those. Here's all my color versions of it. You know what I mean? There was a guy when I was in school that was a monster painter already. And that guy, every time he came into a crypt, man, he just killed everybody. Because he would come in and then they'd go, hey, we already went through the thumbnails. Now we're just doing the little bigger refinements of the thumbnail. He would come in with 4 finished oil paintings at that phase in 1 week. Does that make sense? I mean, talk about getting humbled, man. But okay, so the other thing is, I'd probably add a little bit of color variation to this. I might even even though I don't even know if this happens, and I don't know if this would make any sense, but maybe I'd go, I have no idea if this will make any sense. Kind of makes it hotter on one side. That's kind of cool. It's not too bad. Oh. We'll try that for now. No, I'm going to try this one. I'm going to go a little darker. And I'm going to shift this. I'm not liking that blue that much. Maybe it just needs to get desaturated a little bit. No. It's not really letting me change that much. So I'm going to go out of vivid light. And I'm going to desaturate this. Well, that's why. Hang on. No, that isn't wrong. Oh, I think it's because I'm over or under the gradient map. There it goes. That's why. That kind of feels a little better. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll leave it there for now. Okay, so what am I doing now? I'm getting a little more of a color shift on one side of the planet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I wasn't working on that, but I wanted to use this, like I put the lens flare on the bottom left, and so I was going to add a little bit of a couple shades of white on the southwest side of the planet, so that way it looked like, you know, the light was reflecting off.
All good. I mean, it's all good. What I don't know why this popped into my head, the thing about the core shadow, because, you know, we all look up at the moon. I don't remember ever seeing a core shadow on it, which is weird. And then, like, when I see images of Earth from, because I have this desire to put a core shadow on this, but I'm assuming, though, that it can get lit like anything else, where one side will go into, well, it can, because there's a dark side of the moon, so that answers that.
I think it has to do with how close the other light is, because a core shadow is implying there's reflected or an alternate light
That's
source.
true. That's a good
In
point.
space, it's just light or no light.
That's exactly right. You're right. Yeah, because it's bouncing off the table.
There could be something though. You could have a dual star. You could. There's lots of reasons you could. So, like you
That's
always
true.
say, it's your world.
That's true.
It's your world.
Yeah, that's true. If I put a light source, if it has a light source up here, and then I got another starlight in it here, that could give it a core.
Yes, sir.
That's great because I was thinking about that, and then you're right. But it's still going to get lit like anything else, more or less. So this little variation, see, I'm starting to vary it a little bit where it feels a little more interesting.
Yeah.
And then again, at some point, I would come in here. I would give it an atmosphere. Oops. I'd give it an atmosphere, and I would probably come in here. What am I doing? I'd come in here and probably soften this edge. Okay. It's starting to get kind of interesting with the blues and the oranges. I like that. Okay, and I'd probably soften that edge up.
I don't know if you know this, but a pretty cool fun fact about the moon is that if it didn't have any of its craters, so if it was just a smooth surface, it would be just as bright as the sun.
Really?
Because all the craters reflect or absorb all the light, so it's not reflecting.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's super weird. So is that because of there's no atmosphere thing? Is that why?
I'm guessing. Yeah, I don't know much about the physics behind it, but I read it somewhere in a book. Or in this nonfiction book about space I was reading a while ago, and it just stuck around because I thought that was just super interesting.
That's what I love about that stuff is you hear that stuff, and that's the stuff you catalog. And if you're doing stuff like this, you take some of that and some of the reality, when that is reality, some fantasy stuff, some fantastic stuff, some stuff out of story, and you start cobbling. It's like we talked about before. None of these worlds that Marvel's creating, these Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, those worlds make absolutely no sense, but you totally buy it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
They make no sense. Okay, does that all make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Let me see what else I got here. Sheena, where's Sheena?
Right here.
Ooh, I like that. What do you think?
A part of me feels like the galaxies or like the nebula thing is a little timid.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I want to add more into it, but I feel like I'm like tiptoeing behind adding more, I don't know, something to accent it.
What are you talking about tiptoeing?
Like I want to add more detail in like cloud-like nebula, but it just seems like I keep making it more on the hazy end because I guess I enjoy just like making it smooth.
Yeah. Okay. That both a bunch of stuff you said in there is good. Number one, being timid. Everybody does it. I do that. Okay, and I've been doing this forever. The way to negate that partly is because you're working digitally. Put it on another layer and just go for it. If it sucks, get rid of the layer and do another one. Right. But I like the haziness, but I agree with you. You can get a little bolder in there too. So again, it doesn't matter as a starting point, to be honest with you, what brush I use, because I'm probably going to move a lot of this stuff out anyway. So let's grab some of your blue here. Oh, I think I got to go above, maybe. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to get really bold in here. Or maybe I'll even warm it up as it comes into the foreground. Let's pick a little bit of that, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to start off with some of that, because this is coming towards me. And I like a lot of this texture in this, but what I don't like is the uniformity of the edge here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want to go. There, that's better. Start softening that edge. I'm going to soften a little in here. What I don't want the eye to see is any sort of pattern, really. So it might not be that I smudge it. It might be that I go over it with a different brush and kind of move into the brushwork with another brush, and I'll get some cool. See, that's starting to suggest something that I like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So maybe it's going to go. What brush is that? Because I really like that. Oh, it's that one. Well, that's weird. It got switched. Oops, because this should be my number one. And there's that. Yeah, I'm missing a brush now. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. Okay, so I like that. So now I'm going to take a little hotter, maybe. I'm going to highlight that bunch of gas like me. Now look at that, by the way. Look at this area right here that I just did, okay?
Mhm.
If I isolate that and I take that and I put it into just this part, and I take this and I put that into a sea scene on a shore, that looks like a rock from the ocean, sticking out of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
So remember that stuff. Like when I do that, I go, man, that looks cool. That looks like a good, like nice little rocky kind of texture. I could also then extend that idea if I was doing this in the desert. And I'll do this on Monday when we start talking more about the canyon. If I take this, oops, and let's go with a regular brush for a second. Let me turn everything else off for a second. And let's take, I don't know, I'll fill it, the background, with this layer. And here's this is Mars, because Mars is red, right?
Mhm.
I could pull this here, and then I could go, I'm going to take this, or I'll take this darker value. I'm going to do it behind it, because I don't want to touch that. And I start to build this ground texture, which I would then again have to break up. I'd let some of the ground do some of the work, start making a sort of a nice ground texture. Maybe I put another, oops, put another rock. Oops. Maybe I'll flip this. No, I don't want to flip it. I'll go, maybe make another rock behind it. Way too big. And then I'll go to my brush and I'll kind of change this a little bit. Go back to that cool brush. So they don't look exactly the same. Take my eraser and maybe reshape this a little bit. Then I'll take my smudge again. Go to this rock. Sort of soften that bottom edge where it's coming out a little bit. Same thing with this one back here. Soften that edge. And then I'm going to go back to this funky brush and go, maybe do a couple of values here. So it's coming out into the surface of the planet or whatever. That's a little too light right there. And then a little bit of this. And see how we can start to build an organic sort of scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go, so I can't stop these once I start, and I will in a minute. Hang on. You know, and then reshape this rock a little bit, make it more interesting. Rocks have a lot of, and then I'd have to soften these edges just like we always do. You know, and then I could come back here and maybe go, oops. Because we're going to start talking about this a lot more on Monday, so it is valid, okay? And then maybe since this is whatever Mars, I can go a little warmer here, and I'm going to go. There's a scene out there, and then maybe I'll just take this. I would probably actually do this by hand, but I'm just going to do it for quickness. Oops. This is going to get a little lighter in value. Could actually get darker too. Let's do a little darker, kind of like that. And maybe I'll pull another one and I'll flip it. The only reason I'm not flipping it right now is because then the lighting will change. So maybe I'll just do something like that. And then I'm going to go, now it's playtime. And then I got to put something out here and all that. And this stuff up here could probably go darker because it's in the foreground. I still think this stuff could get a little more, maybe desaturated. Maybe a little lighter in value too. Just don't want to lose them completely. Oops. So see how we're just starting to build something?
Yeah, I see.
Now I could go raid my other stuff that I'm doing, which was what we're doing right now. Hang on. Let's just pull. Yeah, let's pull this one. This might work good. I can always go raid my other stuff. I'm going to grab all of these. I don't think I need the green one on this one. So I can go raid old stuff. You know, maybe I'll pull that more into this color a little bit. I kind of like how it's so saturated. It's kind of trippy looking.
Mm.
Or maybe this goes behind everything. And now I'm starting to get this interesting, I'm starting to get a little environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the reason I'm going down this tangent is to go like, see how this makes nebula stuff, but really what it is just sort of the way you're thinking. Now it's starting to look like rocks and that kind of thing to suggest that, you know, and then maybe I'd make up some sort of foliage that lives here, whatever, right? But this just gives me a boom starting point. I'm going to show you another way to do this to create a quick environment later. And it's really interesting. But anyway, okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, so this is to like help like expand me outside of like me being timid in the wispy area.
All you got to do is let's see if I can turn off all my stuff here now. Yeah. I think I can. Yeah, and then I turned off these. Hang on. What I'm trying to do by that little discussion is to show you how this idea of texture and everything and thinking that way is how you make rocks, because everybody makes rocks like in these real rigid, sort of systemic, bullshitty ways they've learned how to. I told you, I just saw somebody online doing it with lasso too. I mean, you can do that, but they didn't get it at all. Like the values didn't make any sense. It didn't look like a rock. It just like, paint it, man, just paint it, you know? But okay, so now we got this going on down here. So maybe, so that's sort of that thinking, okay? What I'm trying to get you to do with the timid thing is just get like in here in the foreground and just start, or not in the foreground, wherever, and just start going for it, right? So I'm gonna soften up, I think it's this, yeah. I'm gonna soften this up a little bit. I'm gonna try to. I love that texture on that. But I got to soften it up a little bit. I don't know why that's not. I don't want to do that. I want to do, you know, let's try that for the hell of it. Yeah, that's not bad. So this one's a directional blend, so I can kind of pull my brushwork where I want it. And then I'm going to do, so that, if I was going to start doing that stuff I saw, there's a real famous image of the Hubble Space Telescope. This is probably how I'd start it, because it's starting to have that kind of feel to it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving some of that texture. God, I love that. And then I'll probably gas up a little bit of it by going to this just add water thing, which really just blows out the whole thing. I'm going to soften all that. See how we're starting to get some nice stuff in that foreground?
Yeah, I like it.
So the trick here is you're putting down a blob of paint or a wash of paint, and then you're shaping it a little bit. Okay, you're thinking about your edges, how much of that texture you're going to show. You know, if it gets too solidified looking, this is supposed to be in space, and not that many things look like, you know, certain things start to look like that, but it's mostly sort of a gassy, lit, crazy lit environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to like that right there. I think that's cool. And then again, later, don't do it yet. So soften the edge of that planet. And again, I might go into this planet and just, first thing I do is I just play a little bit. And again, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. Oops, I don't want to do that. That's interesting. What is that? It's darkening the background. I'm not exactly sure why it's doing that. But what I might do, I'll do it a different way. What I might do is, again, go on this color layer. And I don't know, maybe introduce just a touch of warmth in there or something. Let's see what I got. Ooh, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I had there, and see, that's an accident. I just had that big, same brush I used here, only it was too big for the planet, but look, it created like a new little mass. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because it was too big. A mistake, happy accident. That's what I always want. And if you see, what does this do? Like, once you get sort of adept at this, you're going to start doing the same thing I do, where everything suggests something to me, and that's my technique, basically. Okay? Then I once I get warmed up, doesn't happen when I first pick up a brush at all. It doesn't happen until I've been working and I'm just stumbling down the rabbit hole. And man, if you can get that down, you're going to get some really good stuff. You know what I mean? When it's too hyper planned and too meticulously done, later on at the very end, you can go, like I'll go in at the very end. You'll see it when we do the next project next week. And then I'll go in and I'll tweak out some stuff in opaque, and I'll get in there and I'll knock, you know, shape little edges and things like that. I just don't do it everywhere. I let this big, washy, giant idea start my whole thing, and then I'm just focusing it in, right? Just pulling things out of that smoke. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so I like this little thing here now, you know, and then I could go again and go a couple of things. I could go here and go, is there a better color for it? Like, is that a better color? If I wanted to stay in the area, like that's pretty cool right there. You know, could it be a little less saturated? Then can I go over here? You know, it's on color, so I probably, you know, and I could try different overlay. Colors just so I can kind of kiss it with color. That's kind of cool. Look how much more texture that one picks up. I think color's going to be it. That's not bad. That's too much. But I can knock that down if I want that kind of saturation. And I'm going to go color. I think color's fine. And, you know, and I'm just going to experiment. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, good. Where I've left, Elan? No, she and I just got. Yeah, she and I just got. Okay, so Elan, you're just starting your outdoor thing, right?
Yeah, just starting.
Okay, I'll go over that. Okay, did you do anything new to your planet?
Just pretty much did all the tips that or the suggestions that you did, and then I also added another kind of nebula light source on the top right. No, yeah, top right corner to break up the canvas a little bit.
Okay. I'd still be careful of these two shapes repeating each other.
Okay.
You know, maybe this one just gets a little billowy or whatever. I mean, just whatever. Just always be aware of that. Again, it's one of my things that I do all the time where I repeat shapes and I have to really catch myself.
Okay.
I think after all this time I wouldn't do that, but for some reason I do. Let's see. Okay. I've gone through everybody. Hang on. Just want to make sure one more thing. Let me see my. Okay, that's the same. That's the same. Okay. Let me see what's going on in chat. Okay, I like that you guys are you guys are discussing this stuff with each other. I like that. Are they doing something on Netflix with Avatar?
There's talk, apparently.
I thought he was
of a live action TV series version of it.
Isn't he doing like 4 of those movies?
This is Avatar: The Last Airbender, not Avatar.
Not James Cameron's Avatar.
Not James Cameron's Avatar.
I hated that movie. I heard about it forever. Heard about it forever. Oh my God! It's Avatar. Oh God! It's gonna. It comes out and I go, "This is a piece of crap." This thing. And I'm not saying that it's not well done or whatever, but there's just certain. Did everybody like that movie?
I did.
Yeah, because most people I talk to like it.
I could nitpick it, but it was entertaining.
No, it was entertaining. I'll give you that. Look, here's the thing about James Cameron. I always say, that guy. I don't care how you want to critique his movies or whatever. He's very good at what he does. He went to Fullerton, by the way. Did you guys know that?
Yes, I did.
Did not know that.
He went to Fullerton for like science. He's from like Brea. And I went to school at Fullerton with his brother, who I think it was John Cameron. Really super nice guy, really talented. And he works with him now, I think. But you can critique him from the perspective of like, I don't know, story and whatever. And it's like, that's not the movie he makes. He makes super entertaining movies. And if anybody knows how to make a movie that makes $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever, it's that guy. You know what I mean? He knows his craft of what he does, and it doesn't matter if you like it or not. It doesn't make any difference. He's just very good at what he does. Michael Bay's the same thing. Like, I don't want to see any of his movies, but he knows how to make a movie that makes a ton of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Avatar ride at Disney World though is like incredible. Like absolutely.
I had one.
Yeah, it's like new. It's really crazy. It's like kind of VR and like has a bunch of like other like smell feedback and like air in your face, and then like, like you're riding one of the horses and it has like feedback in your like thighs, like you're like riding it. It's really crazy.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I just didn't like it. That's all. What do you
they did a documentary on that, right? The Imagineering documentary on Disney Plus. It was really cool to look at the behind the scenes for that.
You know, the thing about Imagineering that's so weird is when I was working there, people go, doesn't that ruin the whole thing for you? And like, you have no idea. Like, working in there is more magical than Disneyland is. It's like,
yes, it is. It is really cool.
You know what I mean? And, you know, I used to walk around because once you have your contract, I worked in-house, but I was a contractor. But once you have that badge, you have free roam of the whole damn company. You know what I mean? So I just wander through, because Imagineering is like there's a campus that's sort of hidden. They don't really highlight it or anything. So like you could be walking down a regular street near the main campus, and that's the Animation Research Library, and it just looks like a warehouse because it was. So, and then you just go with your card and you walk in there and start going through. It was really interesting. And when you're walking through like the 1401 building and all that stuff, there's just mind-blowing stuff everywhere you look, you know, just the craftsmanship and the level of skill and everything these people are doing. It was just like, wow, you know, sculptors, painters, engineers, lighting people, effects, you know, like everything in the, you know, and that campus.
Yeah,
is
for sure. Yeah.
super amazing bunch of people working there. And again, all I did was go around and go, how do you do that? 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 Can I see your sketchbook? Can I see your portfolio? Can I see, you know, I want to learn, you know what I mean? And I would do the same thing if I went there back there again today. Okay. Okay. Okay, so everything I'm saying makes sense, correct? And the other thing, I hope you guys don't fault me for going down tangents like I just did with that rocks or whatever. I really like to relate things as they happen in the moment, and hopefully that's going to keep connecting things. Does that make sense? So, and I like doing that. I like a discussion. I don't like to get up. I don't like to lecture and demo where I'm super rigid. You know, I know what I have to demo and I know what I have to cover, but I also know how it has to relate to the things down the thing. So if something happens that relates to it, I'm going to go on a tangent and go, look, this is texture. This is texture and form, okay? If you put those two things together, I can get rocks. If I put texture, the idea of faceted shapes, which we'll get into later, and, you know, an environment or whatever, I can start putting that together just like that, you know, using the same thinking as we're doing with the planet thing. And the reason I say that is that people think when you're doing a demo on something that you're talking about, here's how you draw a planet. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to get you to go, here's how you paint anything. Does that make sense? Built based on a foundational structure of understanding. Make sense? Yes, okay. And again, that teacher I told you guys about, he would do this all the time. I never thought of it until just now, but he would go, and I love this about this guy. If somebody said, if he was doing a demo just like I'm doing, and somebody said, hey, blah, 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 he'd go, oh, and he'd pull out another piece of illustration board and he'd go, okay, and he'd draw a car real quick. And then he'd go, okay, let's make the car chrome. And he'd start painting this thing with gouache, like super fast. And then he'd go, okay, lights over here. That means the lights over here, then the sunset's going to be over here and it's going to be doing this. And the ground texture is going to bounce up into this. And here's how the hubcaps are going to reflect because of the, and he would explain every single thing he was doing. And he would go down all these tangents. And I was just like, man, that was my stuff. Okay. So hopefully that relates to you guys, you know, but I like having a loose discussion, and I like those discussions going wherever they go with the demo. Okay. Because I don't want to stand up here and do a rigid demo. I want them to be fairly in the moment, if that makes any sense. I just have this obsession with organic and improvisation. I just have this obsession with it. Okay. And I think it's good for the conversation of a demo. Does that make sense? Okay. Questions?
Professor, can I ask you for a favor?
Sure.
When class ends, do you think you can help me load some brushes in? Like, it's been driving me crazy. I got some in, but I can't get the rest.
Which ones couldn't you get in?
Hold on. I got, I'll tell you the ones that I did manage to get in. Was the G. Rutkowski brushes.
Are they called Groot or Grut? I don't know. But anyway, the Grut brush, I call them Grut brushes.
Yeah.
And I'm probably wrong. What you should be able to do is select all of them. Okay. And then double click them. And then it's going to come up and give you a dialog that says, I think on those it's going to say that I can import these as brushes, and just say yeah. And then what it's going to do with the Grut brushes, I don't know why it does this, but it goes in. Oh, let's look at this one real quick, because somebody else might be having problems with this. So let's just look at it real quick.
I've been trying to do this for the past 2 days, and I'm so fucking frustrated at this point. Like, I wouldn't ask, but it's driving me crazy. Can I share my screen with you so I can show you
Yeah.
like doing? Okay. Give me one sec. Video. What?
Can you if you're not the okay.
Actually, yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to
And
look that up because I don't know if the person who's not hosting the meeting can do it, or if I have to give you permission or something.
Yeah, you have to give permission. It's locked.
How do I
Okay.
do that?
I think you just click on them and you say like make a co-host through grant permission.
Yeah, I don't see it. Wait.
I don't know how you do
Oh,
it either,
make
but
co-host. Okay, so let's do this.
Okay.
Okay, so let's try that. See if you can do it now.
Okay. Oh, thank you. This is okay, one sec. Share screen. How do I share screen on Zoom?
It's down at the bottom. It says
Okay.
it's green, it's lit up.
Okay. This
Oh, there you go.
is okay. Oh my god, this is so new. So this is what I have. I managed to put these brushes in, and
Okay, yeah.
these are one sec. Let me go to the folder. These, like, I try to drag them in.
No, you
and it
can't
says-
drag them in.
Okay.
You got to double click them. Like open those,
Okay.
and then let's say just for now, select one of them and double click it. No, just double click it.
if you select them all and it brings up this menu, do the always use open and it'll do all the brushes in a row.
Okay.
Okay, good. I didn't know that.
Always use this app.
Try to look for Photoshop in your app.
Yeah, you got to
Okay,
switch
so-
the app to Photoshop. That's a problem right there because it's taking you to some weird thing to open that. I don't even know what it is.
What the fuck?
Go
Uh-huh.
to
So exit out.
Uh-huh.
Double click on it again. And then click on more
More
apps.
apps.
More apps. Okay.
There.
Photoshop.
That one.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Okay, you got to. It should work in that version because it's.
Oh, I'm.
What
yeah.
version you want? It says 2019.
Yeah, I'm doing 2019.
Can you update?
2020. I
I don't
have.
think that should matter, to be honest with you, because I got those brushes, I don't know, a year or two ago, so I don't know why that would matter.
I have the same brushes on both of them.
So Jem says in the chat that you went into the Mac OS folder, right, to get your brushes? Because I noticed you were in the Mac. Oh yeah, you have a Windows.
Uh-huh.
So go back. Go back
Okay.
to the original folder, Dart 101, and just go to the group brushes right next to it. Not the Mac OS. Yeah, the group brushes. Yeah, those brushes.
Okay.
And then they should be those brushes you incorporate into
Double click one of
Windows.
those.
Okay.
That looks like a PSD.
There you go.
Oh, yeah,
Load
yeah.
it, import as brushes. There you go.
And there you go. One
And there it
brush.
is.
I have to do that for every single brush, though.
What I do
No.
what I do is, I don't know why, but the group brushes are like this. I select all of them, and what it does for some reason is it puts them all in their own folder. Then I just make a new folder and I drag them all into that folder. But you can load them all at once.
Uh-huh.
But you're going to have to separate them probably, unless it's different on Windows. It might be different on Windows.
No, it's not different on
Yeah,
Windows.
no,
I
I
have the
spent-
same.
yeah.
Had the same thing.
It
So-
took me like 2 hours to reorganize them into all the folders I wanted, but I
Well,
was
it only
very
took me, like,
specific.
To take
Same.
them all out into one folder only took me about 5 minutes.
I also alphabetized them in each of their sections, so
Okay,
I'm
well,
kind of
that's-
anal.
What I do is I just put them in. I have faves, smudges, oil, or I think impasto or something. And then I just leave the Rutkowski brushes in their own, just in the folder they came in.
Yeah, I broke them down to like crosshatch, ink, pencil. Like I broke them down to every single one, alphabetic
If you
too.
want to do it, that's fine. Hang on a sec.
Forgive my ignorance, but how do I select all of these?
Click on one, and
Uh-huh.
then scroll down to the bottom,
Uh-huh.
While holding.
and then and then shift and click.
Shift and click. Oh my god.
Or
You
let me
clicked
see.
on the specific one, so just click on the icon and not the box from the upper.
Yeah. What Mina says.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
So now
yeah.
just go all the way up and click on the icons. Yeah.
Oh shit.
There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh my god, thank you guys. Okay, and
No
then
problem.
Double
I-
click.
double click. Okay.
You can
Now
double click,
click
yeah.
off of them.
Oh, yeah.
Click off of them, but just select all of them and double click.
Come here. Okay.
There you
Select
go.
all of them and then double click. Here, I'll double click.
I think you might have to do a right click on this one.
Okay.
You could drag and drop them. That's what I did.
That too.
Oh, can you drag and drop them? I've never done that.
I can, but it only does one.
Huh. Try it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So I right clicked.
You didn't right click on the icon though. Like just right click. Oops, and you click. Okay, so just try right clicking on one of them and see if it works. It doesn't have open with because sometimes when I right click on one of them,
yeah, it's supposed to.
Jem says try and press enter right now.
Just press
Like
enter.
just without the window up.
Okay, one sec. Yeah. Okay. Press enter.
That doesn't seem to work.
You should
Okay.
be able to. You should be able to double click. There it goes.
I do not have time to load these one by one. Oh my god. What if?
You should be able to select all of them and double click one, and it'll just put them all in.
All right.
Because that's how I do it. And then I
then-
organize them after that.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
But if you notice the Greg Rakowski brushes, all his brushes are in one file. That's why they don't load.
Which is so nice.
Yeah, so much better.
Yes, okay, 1 second.
I think this might be a byproduct of these are tool presets.
Maybe. Yeah, that makes sense because
Yeah.
I think tools presets
They're
has more information.
Yeah, and
So therefore it's its own folder.
and now for whatever reason, Photoshop can import them as brushes. So I'm guessing from now forward, they're probably building them as brushes. They don't have to build them as tool presets, probably. I'm not sure.
I think it gives you more variety for downloading to different things, but I could be wrong about that.
I don't know. Because I don't really know how they make them. So it's something, I mean, I know how they make some of them, but like the super reactive ones, I'm not sure. Like the ones that sort of react like watercolor and all that kind of stuff. That's above my pay grade, probably. Okay, so is that making sense?
No, but I'll figure it out. Thank you everyone for your help though. It's okay.
You just have to select all of them and double click one and it should import them.
Like that's what I'm doing. But okay, I'm gonna double click and it just does
Oh,
one.
yeah, I don't know why it's doing that.
Yeah,
This
that
is-
seems weird.
If it's doing that, I would just go double click, double click, double click, double click, screw it, and just import them. The hell with it.
All right. 1 sec.
I mean, there's some way to batch, at least put them in as their own folder, but I don't know enough about Windows. I'm not that good with Windows.
Mhm.
All these people in here know more about Windows than I do.
Mm-mm.
I just double click them. I mean, all you're gonna have to do is just hit double click. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'll figure it out. It just
And I might even do a Google search and just go, how do I batch import grep brushes? You might just get an answer right away.
how do I
They have a lot of tutorials on their website too that might help you with that. Like if you go to group brushes.
But you guys, John and Elan, you guys imported them as a group, right?
Yep.
Yeah, mine worked fine. As soon as I double clicked, it wasn't reselecting an individual one. That seems really weird.
I did both the method of selecting all, dragging and dropping into the brush settings, and also right clicking.
Did you drop them, Elan? Did you drop them directly into the brush settings, like the window?
Like I guess it's like brushes, like how she has her window now with Photoshop, like that Photoshop window of brushes. Like I just like dragged it and it batched all. And I think that window where it says do you want to import as brushes or tool sets, I click don't show this message again and click import, and then it I think because like that message will keep popping up for each
It
one
does.
if you don't. Yeah. So
Yeah, it does. Totally right.
Okay, Tajan, if you have more trouble with that, we'll go over a little more of it on Monday, okay?
we don't have class on Monday, Mike.
I mean, Tuesday. Damn it, I forgot about that.
I'm sorry.
I got to put that on my calendar, man. Like if I don't put everything on my calendar, I don't remember it. Okay, guys, I'm gonna let you go. I want to see I want those canyons started by Monday or Tuesday. You have plenty of time, and the planet should be more or less finished by Monday or Tuesday. Yeah,
Okay.
and I will put
And-
everything up from this class today, obviously.
And so
I'll put the link to the guy who's doing the gradient map with the clouds. Okay.
Cool. And then the canyon you said is just a start, pretty much, right? Okay.
Yeah. You should have that rolling. Take it as far as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay? Then I'm going to start talking about opacity and things like that on Tuesday.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right,
Cool.
you guys. I will see
All
you
right.
Monday.
Hi,
And thanks, you guys.
Bye. Thanks, Mike. Bye.
thanks, Mike.
Have a good 4th of July,
You too.
everybody.
If we're
Stay
gonna
safe.
have one.
4th of July.
Stay safe, everybody.